overview, if you will, about the USA Farm Stars.
Sure. Well, I just launched it about maybe 6 weeks ago, and someone needed to bring sexy back to farming.
We were just talking about that the other day.
And I neglected to do it because I was trying to be politically correct, but I want our listeners to know who do not have the benefit of visual for our radio programming, you are probably the most attractive farmer I have ever met.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. Wow.
So with that out of the way.
Well, you know what? First of all, thank you so much. But, see, this is the thing, though. Most people have a perception of how farmers look, how they act, and who they are. And it's usually wrong. Okay? So, and I've realized this. See, I am from Arkansas. I grew up in a tiny town in Arkansas, and then I moved to Louisiana, and I'm a fourth-generation farm owner, and I'm a third-generation farmer.
Wow.
Okay? And, most people that I've come across in my own career, I actually left the South and moved to New York and L.A., and I've been
Those are big farming towns.
Yeah. But when I would meet people and tell them that I'm from a farming background or from that area, they would be like, wow, that sounds so backwards and hillbilly and redneck. But in actuality, it really isn't. And I've realized there was such a disconnect between the public and farming, the farming communities. And there are some misperceptions that I really felt like needed to be addressed. And it hasn't been in a way that I felt is needed. It's been missing in the marketplace. So I was very inspired to create a new business that would celebrate farmers as who they really are, showcase also the next generation of farmers, and help make the whole world of farming more fun, more fresh.
And more accessible, right?
Yeah, and more relatable, so that people in the cities would be able to understand better who farmers are and what farming is really about.
Now, don't you think of the advent of all the farmers markets popping up that people are getting to know the farmers a little bit more than they were maybe 5 years ago?
Yes, and it's really surprising because even in a time of recessions and everybody, being so worried about their pocketbook, farmer markets have increased almost 10% on an annual basis. So the fact is people are now so much more aware of their food. They want to know where it's coming from, and people are much more open today to getting to know who the farmers are.
Right. So now how is your organization kind of helping with that?
Well, I'm actually the first lifestyle brand to come into the marketplace to celebrate farmers with USA Farm Stars. And what I'm doing is actually doing feature lifestyle interviews on real farmers. These are people who are actually out in the field. I've been doing photo shoots of people that I feel really show the passion, the commitment, the dedication, and the pride of being a farmer. So I want to showcase them also as real people, as who they really are, so people can see, who a farmer is as a person.
And then, why they chose that lifestyle and why they're making, farming their life?
Yes, exactly, because it's kind of a surprise. And you look at some of the farmers that I photographed. They're young, they're hip, they're, very accessible, and farmers are people too.
Right. What's a misconception you find that people have about farmers, and that when you kind of interview them, you realize that maybe that's not so true?
Well, being a farmer myself, I actually do run and operate a farm. I've realized that many farmers are very well educated. They are very courageous. They are actually dedicating their lives to doing something that most people don't recognize or even necessarily understand.
Right.
So they really have very little acknowledgement. And there's usually a very nice sense of humility that farmers have. It's like a quiet pride.
Right.
And I think that's really something that is really to be appreciated.
Sure. I think there's a farmer's market. I live right around here in Sandy Springs, and there's a farmer's market that is, I guess it's spring to fallish, winter that they're out. And there was a guy that just did tomatoes. It was all only tomatoes. And the way that he would put each tomato in the bag with such care and slowly place it in there, I mean, it's day and night than what you would get at a, kind of one of these big box grocery stores where they don't, you know, it's just another item.
Sure.
But this guy was like literally like it was an egg, you know, and just slowly placing one on top of the other. And it was just really touching. It was like you were saying, there was so much pride, and he was choosing the right one for us, and it wasn't just like he's just counting and throwing them in and weighing it, you know.
Sure. And, you know, one of the things that I ask the farmers that I do interview, what do they love about farming?
Mm-hmm.
I try to get into their hearts and souls about what really motivates them, inspires them, and makes them so proud to be a farmer.
Right.
There is such a sense of, I guess, fulfillment of seeing a crop grow, something that they actually put into the ground at the very beginning of the year, or depending on the crop itself. When they harvest it, if it has actually come to fruition, no pun intended, but if it has, they are so proud of that. And that's really a certain kind of, I guess, accomplishment. And I think that you're seeing that in the farmer markets, but also in so many other types of agriculture as well.
Well, I love that farmers market that you're speaking of, and I go to several others around town as well. That's kind of our Saturday day,
right.
Particularly as we move into the spring. And you would think that, at least the ones we interact with, that they've been to the Ryan and Matt School, because they're as focused on the guest experience. I mean, I can ask them about cooking, and then their kids are helping out, and and they take so much pride in their work. You must have a blast interviewing these folks.
I do. You know, my life has really changed dramatically. In the last few years is when I started working very closely with farmers, because I took over my family farm. I was living in the city, as I mentioned, and I decided that I really wanted to keep my farm, and it was a choice of selling the farm or keeping it, and I wanted to keep my farm and have a sense of heritage and history. And so I moved down south, and I started working with all of these farmers, and just by spending all the time, they were mentoring me. I was learning, gosh, so wet behind the ears. But I became friends with so many people, and I just realized these farmers are just so much fun. They have so much energy, so much commitment, and there's so much for me to learn from these people. So it is a blast. It's a total blast. I get out there with my photographer. I'm talking to them. I'm riding in combines. I'm, meeting people all over the country who are farmers, and it's really exciting.
So you're traveling around the country, and then so that on the website usafarmstars.com, what's somebody going to find?
Well, my whole goal with the website is to make it really easily for city folks to understand more about farmers and be able to rub elbows with farmers in this world. So I've done a lot of different things with the website. I've actually aggregated farms from the West Coast to the East Coast, north to south.
Oh, wow.
So people can go visit farms, farm tours.
So like a family could go, and then some of them have like the U-Picket thing.
Yes,
you can,
exactly.
right.
So you can take your children to a U-Picket.
Or you can buy fresh stuff.
You can see an alpaca farm,
wow.
a cattle ranch, a tree farm,
so it's like
dairy
a portal
farm.
for farms.
It is a complete, comprehensive website. So, yes, you can take your family. So people who haven't maybe been to a farm can look at my website to find farms in their area, their state.
Right.
But we also have farm-to-table restaurants.
Oh, wow.
I have a city guide across the United States of major markets across the country with their farm-to-table restaurants. I've interviewed with the executive chefs on how they're sourcing their awesome restaurants from their local farms.
Right.
I also have even fun content on things like, so you want to be a farmer, how 5 things you need to know now.
Are you finding that some people are maybe as they get older, maybe they retire, they're thinking, well, I can pull this off. There's actually, they're going back to the farm like that?
Yes, in fact, we just interviewed a great lady in Atlanta who has kind of changed her life, bought some acreage in the mountains, and has been, commuting back and forth, running her own garden and selling at farmer markets. But I think there is a trend that I have recognized just personally, even myself, living, in the city for as long as I have, and now, being a little more rural. There's a fantasy about being back in Americana.
Right.
To be connected with the earth, to be a little more in nature. I've been in the internet media since the mid-'90s in New York, and I know personally this has been so refreshing just to be connected to the ground.
Right. Now, I was in Dahlonega, and there's like 1 million vineyards. Like, you don't realize that there's these little pockets of farming. That falls under farming.
That's what I want to be. I want to be a wine farmer.
Isn't there?
You know, it is. It's one of the topics that I have not yet embraced, but I will. I'm focusing primarily right now on food, on agriculture, on farmer markets, on, you know, people who are growing corn, wheat, soy, rice, vegetables, organic, all types of farming. But that will come next.
All right. So if somebody wants to learn more, the website again?
It's usafarmstars.com. And something fun about it also is we're tying in celebrities who are pro-farming, just because, you know, it's so nice to see how mainstream America and celebrity is interested in getting back to the roots, you know, and helping the people who are keeping us fed.
Sure.
They are the backbone of our country.
And have you got a chance to go by Serenbe or involved with that community?
I am. In fact, we have a section where people can nominate farm stars. So we've noticed that one of the lead farmers there, named Paige, has been nominated by so many people. And she actually was our most popular farm star last month.
Great.
So she won a hat.
Very nice.
Yeah, so people everywhere can nominate their farmers, from the farmer markets to their family members, win swag. You know, like
That's
I said,
awesome.
bringing sexy back to farming.
Fun stuff. I can tell you're just so excited and passionate about what you're doing.
I love it. I really do.
All right, so let's make sure we get the coordinates so our listeners can get to you and see all this stuff.
Well, it's usafarmstars.com. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. We just launched about 6 weeks ago, and I am so privileged and grateful to be able to get the message out. So thank you.
Well, you're more than welcome. We're delighted to have you. We'll have to have you come back, maybe with some farm stars sometime and kind of give us
I'd love that. How fun. I'd love to do that. Thank you.